Hi there, it's Cordelia Cooper, the Creative Educator. I hope you are very, very well. So in today's video, we are going to answer this simple question. How do we encourage our rigid rule followers to step outside of the box? Now, firstly, what led us to this question? So we was having this discussion about CEOs and entrepreneurs and people that have made a massive impact, not just in their lives, but other people's lives as well. In fact, they've made massive impacts across the world. And myself and a group of parents were having this discussion about the fact that these people did not allow their grades to dictate their life outcomes. In fact, most massive CEOs and amazing entrepreneurs these days, they didn't do well in school. And there is a correlation between CEOs and entrepreneurs and people that are change makers and not doing so well in school. And we came up with this analogy that those that do extremely well in school, most of the time, now it's not for everyone, but most of the time, they turn into rule followers where they are yes people. And, when a teacher says, do this, it's yes, sir. They do it straight away. They're listening to all of the instructions given. They follow instructions. And a lot of the time, these children turn into people that aren't able to think creatively. They aren't able to think outside of the box. They are very linear people. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. I need someone to tell me what to do, and I'm just going to follow those orders. But there are also a lot of children that don't do significantly well in school, and a lot of these children, not all of them, but a lot of these children, the rule breakers, the creative thinkers, the ones that are thinking outside of the box, the daydreamers, it's these children who usually do extremely well in life and become things like CEOs, entrepreneurs, and real people, and people that make a humongous impact in the world. So we're just going to have a little bit of a discussion, and I'm going to give you some pointers, because I always bang on about creative thinking. It's not about grades all the time. Yes, grades are helpful, of course they are, but the most important thing in your child's life, because at the end of the day, the world's changed. 20 years ago, it was all about grades. You get your grades, you get your job, you stay in your job until you retire. Great, done. The world has changed. It's no longer like that. In fact, it's those creative thinkers, the ones that can use their brains to analyze situations, to think outside of the box, to solve problems. It's those people that are going to do really, really well. So I'm just going to drop a few exciting nuggets for you to support your children at home, because it is you that spend most of the time with your children. And if you're able to implement just a few of these nuggets, then you can certainly support your child to become one of those children that are able to think creatively, that think outside of the box, and that can certainly use this to support their future opportunities. So number one, we're going to redefine what it means to be right. So most of the time, a child sits in the classroom and they're given a book or something on the whiteboard and they're told to answer questions. It's a tick or it's a cross. Now, what we are going to do as parents, we're going to redefine this. It's no longer right or wrong. There can be something in between where children have the opportunity to answer their own given questions. They can come up with their own answers. They can actually write questions themselves as well. So we're going to redefine what it means to be right by simply giving them opportunities to come up with their own questions. Now, this might look like something like, you might have a set bedtime. Let's say, for example, it might be 8 o'clock. Let's ask the children, what time do you think you should go to bed? Why do you think you should go to bed at that time? Let's have a little bit of a discussion about it. So it's redefining what's right. As a parent, we're not always right. Maybe those lines, our children can support us to actually change their outcome as well. So it's redefining what it means to be right. That's one of the first steps, and allowing them to implement their own ideas as well. Not just always, it's not always coming from us. Give them time to have a discussion. Let them analyze and think openly about things as well. We're going to support them to break rules safely. Now, this does not mean that you turn your children into naughty, annoying little kids that do everyone's head in, but this simply means that when they are given a task or asked to do something, maybe they can do it in their own way. If they're asked to sweep up the kitchen, is there anything that they could implement to make it interesting, to make it fun, to make it creative, but it's all about allowing them to have ideas and implement their own ideas as well. Investigating, exploring. When we're outside for a walk, and I see this all the time with parents, they take their children outside on a walk. They might be at the park or even walking up and down the road, and a child, they see some beauty in a flower or a rock. Kids do this all the time. I don't know why, they just love rocks, and they see beauty in it. Giving them that little time to investigate the fungus, or to investigate an ant, or to look between the little cracks in the road and just to have a look and investigate and explore it. Maybe give them a magnifying glass and demonstrate to them the fact that exploring something is a good thing to do. Helping them, say for example, if they like rocks and things like that, maybe what I did with my child the other day is we got from, I think it was from National Geographic. We got him this set. It's just got lots of different rocks, lots of different stones, because he loves stones. I don't like stones. They're dirty, they're mucky. He takes them upstairs into the bathroom, he washes them off, they make a mess, but it's something that he likes, and it's something that he loves to explore. So it's about finding and allowing them and giving them time to open their own true talents as well. Now, that's something that he loves. I don't know why he loves it. He does, but it's giving them time to explore what they enjoy and what they love as well. Encouraging questions. Now, we do this a lot as parents. We are so busy. I get it. I'm a parent of 3, and I'm sure you're a parent of children as well. You might have multiple children, and then you might have nephews and nieces coming to the house all the time as well. We're busy. But when we simply are telling our children to do this, do that, so they get it from school all the time. The teacher tells them, this is what we're going to do it. And then they come home and we tell them, this is what you need to do it. Giving them time and space to ask questions. We always ask them, what did you do in school today? Maybe, and it's something that we have to start supporting them. They're not initially just going to completely change from one way of thinking to the next, but it's simply implementing ideas. So encourage them to ask questions, encourage them to ask you what you did with your day. Maybe taking the time when you get home, having 5 minutes, a cup of tea, sit them down, no computers, no tablets, no books, nothing, just you and them. What did you do at school? Have you got any questions that you'd like to ask me? I'm sure after a while, if you just give them a little bit of quiet time, they will ask something, and that's going to ignite them and say to them, hey, do you know what? It's a safe space for me to ask questions as well. Because sometimes when we as parents are always asking questions, they don't feel safe to ask us questions. So giving them time and space to be safe in this, in the knowledge that they can ask questions as well. So we need to also give them time to explore things creatively. Now, sometimes this can look like structured creative activities, such as getting a few paints. Yes, I know it's mucky, it's messy, it takes time to clear up, I understand, but children are only children for so long, so we only have a short window of time to support them to actually think creatively. Otherwise they will get bogged down with this linear way of thinking, it's right or it's wrong, and that's not the world that we live in. So giving them structured creative activities, maybe getting some Play-Doh, getting a stack of felt tips which they're able to get to by themselves independently, so they don't actually have to ask us to use them. Cooking in the kitchen, that's a nice creative activity, structured. Getting down with them, maybe, playing the Connect 4 and all of those things that enable them and support them to use their hands, and they have to use their brains to think creatively, to create something to bring something into this world which did not exist before they arrived. So it's all about structured activities as well. Now, this is one that I love. So it's all about reverse answering. So, for example, when children are sitting down and they might be doing some homework, some maths or English, and they're given a question. Now, it's obviously you'll have to have the answers there as well. But when my daughter, so my middle child, when she can't think of what the answer is, I get her to reverse answer. So I'll give her the answer, and then I will support her. Sometimes she does this independently now, but then she has to think of how to get to the answer. So it can look like something quite complex, but when you in reality, it's actually not that hard at all. So for example, if you've got a very, very simple sum, 8 times 8 is 64. So giving them the number 64 and then asking them what times tables could make this answer. So that's just a simple way of doing it, but it's reverse answering, where you give them the answer and then you ask them what the question is, or you give them the answer and then you ask them how to get to the answer, because they already know the answer. So it's all about reverse answering. And again, that's a different way of thinking. It's not just thinking straightforward, I've got the question, what's the answer? It's thinking backwards, here's the answer. What could the question be? And this can be, you can do this in the car as well. You might give your child a number. You might give them 100. You might say, right, some number bonds to 100. You might give them some times tables, right? This is the answer. What could the question be? But there are lots of creative ways that we can implement this kind of thinking, so we can support our children to start thinking differently and using their minds in a wide range of ways. Now, another one is to normalize mistakes. I'm a parent, I'm an adult, I don't like mistakes. Okay, I don't like mistakes, but we have to support our children to realize that it's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes is a process of learning. And as we, to go back to the question at the start, it's encouraging rule followers to step outside of the box. And a fantastic way to do that is to normalize mistakes. It's okay to get something wrong. It's okay to break a cup by accident. What are you going to do to prevent that from happening again? And then by questioning, by opening the floor for them to have a discussion, again, they're using their minds to think openly to answer a question. So normalizing mistakes. If they make a mistake, it's okay, but fuel it with a question. What are you going to do to prevent that from happening again? It's a really good way to get their brains thinking. And, the last one, and I've started to do this with I've been doing this for a while, is, okay, in fact, I'm going to end with 2. One of them is TED Talks. So it's about, tapping into those adults that are really creative thinkers, listening to how they talk, listening to how they analyze and use their words and creatively solve problems. So TED Talks is a great one. Maybe putting it on in the background while they're playing games, or maybe in the kitchen while you're eating. But it's really a great way of listening to other adults and how they speak and use their language to get a message across. So TED Talks is a really, really good way of supporting our children to realize that creativity, it's not just about paint, but there are such a wide variety of ways that you can be creative. And the last one, which actually I haven't got written down, but I'm going to add it in anyway because I like to do this at home. So we have music days. So from Monday to Friday, we can only listen to either classical music or TED Talks or podcasts, but something that's going to support our minds. Because I'm a big believer in what we listen to actually also impacts who we are and who we become in the future as well. Whether you believe in that, that's up to you, but I really do believe it. So we've kind of sectioned off our days. So from Monday to Friday, classical music, podcasts, and TED Talks only. And then on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes Fridays, it depends on how the week goes, but definitely Saturdays, Sundays, kids can listen to whatever they like, pop music, any kind of music, as long as it's kind of like not gang banging music, because we don't do that in the house. But they can literally listen to anything they like, because I really do believe in music waves and all that kind of stuff, and it really does impact what our children think and how their brains work and such. So classical music is a really great one. In fact, I'm going to set you a challenge, and I don't know if whether or not you've actually used classical music before. I'm going to give you a challenge. Start playing classical music at least once a week. See how your child's mood mellows down. Now, it's not going to be instant, but I promise you, classical music, it truly does mellow a child down. So those are just a couple of ways, or a couple of things that how you can support your child to start thinking outside of the box, start really using their brains in a really, really good way that's going to support them for the future. We, as Black Vision, we always use classical music. So when the children come in the morning, it can be quite crazy because we have over 20 children all together, and we start with creativity. So they're talking to each other, talking about the week and whatever, and we put classical music on in the background. And it's really nice because when there's those quiet moments, there's just a beautiful bit of classical music in the background, and it really does support our children to come in and have a beautiful Saturday morning with a little bit of classical music in the background as well. That's it for me today. I really hope that helps, and as always, if you have any comments or questions, leave them below and I will get back to them. But let me know what you think. Is your child a really rigid rule follower, or are they quite creative? And do you worry about your child not receiving or not gaining the grades that you hope for them? Because I'm going to leave it at this as well. Grades do not dictate your child's life outcome. So just leave on that. I'm going to leave that with you. Whether they are high flyers or they're middle children, middle ability, or they are struggling a little bit, it's not going to dictate their outcome. You never know what your child's going to blossom into in the future. But the most important thing is encourage them to use their brains for critical thinking, to analyze, for creativity, to learn, to explore, and to create. That is going to be the defining moment for your child in their future. Hope that helps. Have a good one. See you soon. It's Cordelia Cooper, the Creative Educator.